Electric Lodge presents Notes from the Underground with Josh Berkowitz, where we talk to alternative storytellers, comedians, dancers, musicians, poets, and filmmakers about life, art, and we may just talk about nothing at all. Recorded live from Soul Journey Studios in Venice Beach, California. Today we have Kent Jenkins here, who's an incredible performer who I was basically introduced to by Alen Udy, who's been an amazing producer for Electric Lodge. She's also performed at Electric Lodge and does her own show, Was Ist Das, on the East Side. So Alen first told me about Kent. I think I met you at Lyric Hyperion.
Yeah, you were in the middle of your performance.
Yeah, was that the first time we met?
I was so into it, and I just stuck by your side for a little while.
A Russian durational performance art piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, right, we met there, but and I knew you were a nice guy, but it wasn't until Alen was like, hey, this guy, you got to see this guy. And she showed me just a couple clips of Scherzo Theater Company doing 803 at the Fringe Festival. And all I saw was the clip of the pre-show of you guys, or like toast, or I don't even know if it's a pre-show, but you guys were like waiting to pop some toast. And I was like, wait, these guys got some vision. And it hit a sweet spot, which was performance art mixed with physical theater and clown. It was fun and innovative, which is a nice combination, best of both worlds, right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to strive for, is like that kind of the bizarre, weird visions and dreams we have of achieving that, but like in an entertaining, like attainable way for people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do want to say first, because we're probably going to talk about a bunch of different stuff, but I want to say that Kent Jenkins will be at the Electric Lodge on Saturday with Unplug LA.
Yes.
And you'll be bringing your Rimba tubes, right?
The Rimba tubes, a whole different side of me, really.
Yeah. How much do those weigh? Looks kind of heavy.
170 pounds. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How are we going to get it up the
you get the little elevator thing, right? I was just thinking
can you
too.
flip it up?
Yeah,
like
you
can
can stand it up on the side.
All right, yeah, that should work.
I've done some weird maneuvering with that thing.
Yeah, right. So you're taking that all over the place.
Yeah, dude. Because what was one of the weirdest ones? I've done like I did a music video that took me around, like went underneath the Santa Monica Pier boardwalks, shot down there in the sand, like early in the morning so the cops didn't catch us. And then took it out to Pasadena and like put it next to like waterfalls and trees and stuff. And there's just like all this rugged terrain. It's pretty badass though, because usually it's just YouTube. I'm like just like in a comfortable home playing the pipes.
Yeah, I mean you have. So this isn't. What's funny is we were about to start talking about this, and we'll kind of process it now instead. Is the fact that this show is about the underground. This is Notes from the Underground, but you've been above ground sometimes, so you shouldn't maybe be allowed on this podcast.
I don't think I should be. I feel so out of place.
But you've done enough underground things. We'll let you.
I get an exception. Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Welcome.
So what's interesting is you're able to do both mainstream work and push the edge to. How do you walk that line?
It's interesting. I'm trying to find that right now. In this moment, because I just finished. I finished the year at Del Arte, studying, this physical theater school up north, like studying some really intense, like just grounded theater, like purely physical, purely elemental, purely like masks, comedian, all that clown, like just being exposed to that. I'm like that's like where the core of like good performance exists for me. Yeah. But having studied postmodern and postmodernism theater in college, I was like exposed to Robert Wilson and all that like just abstract work as well that fascinates me.
I was actually, funny enough, I was just talking to a brilliant Cirque du Soleil director who lives here, Stephen Haves.
You
met him.
I just did his show like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, you were there for that. Oh, that's awesome. And I was talking to him because him and Scott Neary are big influences on me of the side of like entertainment. Something needs to be good. It just needs to be the best 4 minutes that you can take around the world, and just, if you know how to juggle, just fucking juggle and do that piece that you're best at. Don't give me your experimental work in progress. And so what I've been doing is I put them on one end of the spectrum in my mind, and I let them I soak in their influence. And then I know that on the other side of the spectrum is somebody else who's fucking around.
The crazy performance art freak that you are.
I mean,
deep down too.
you know who's a good balance of the two. Although, I mean, you could say whatever. And I know you probably just met him and got to know him. Seth Allison, Sethford Allison.
He's so great,
right? Because he'll go to he gets invited to Booby Trap all the time, and he's able to try new stuff. And doesn't always. I mean, obviously, he's got a few that are the ones that definitely work. But he'll go and bring something else,
off the wall. Yeah.
So right, and you'll be with Wet the Hippo on Saturday, and that's a perfect example of somebody who, and I'll say it publicly. It's like they're a different side of the spectrum from Scott Neary's Booby Trap. They're, they can be hit or miss, but when they're really hit, they're super innovative. And I don't know. It's a battle, so I just try to stay somewhere in the middle of the spectrum and absorb from all worlds in different ways.
It's funny. Right? Yeah. I try to seek a balance in my life, but I just took the idiot workshop.
Yeah. How was that? Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Like just trying to push myself to the limits of like, how weird can I get? How deeply can I connect to the audience, but then really take them aback, but then try to win them back and like, right. Playing with that, but really having the audience directly in front of you. And that's where it's so cool. Cause while I was studying, it was like, I was kind of traumatized because like I grew up dancing, like I did ballet, jazz, tap, like the classic stuff. Grew up playing the piano, like very white suburban, like that kind of.
Wait, where are
thing.
You from again?
From Lake Oswego, Oregon. It's like
oh man, I didn't know that.
White kind of town. My name Kent means bright, and that's what's funny too. It's just like I'm like okay, I'm a white guy. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, we got to talk about white male guilt but we don't.
We'll have to touch on that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that at some point. It'll come up.
But that's the thing. What I'm getting at though is like to come from this kind of this performance route where then and then fell in love with the Blue Man Group, built this pipe instrument, and that's where like the Rimba Tubes came about. That now I've got a freaking 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, 40 million views, and that's where it's like to be at this like school, to be here, all these places where we're just focused on like the absurd groundedness of something. I'm like, what's the value of this like really kind of superficial entertainment thing when I've got this like really soul fulfilling thing that I do. And that's where it's like finding that like balance of doing that work and then also the work that is really like audience grabbing, entertaining, all these things that is satisfying in its own in its own way too. And that's where I just uploaded a video today and it's got like 15,000 views already. And it's just like,
you're going to help us promote this podcast. You're going to like put this podcast, like we have like one subscriber.
If this will fit, that's where it's like,
yeah, right. They might be like,
put it
what
on my
the hell?
Instagram,
like notes from the underground.
It's like, that's where it's
yeah, right. I didn't realize till this moment, but please, we need your help. Yeah.
But that's where it's like I have like this whole new audience I'm trying to cultivate community here in LA that's like actually here physically because I'll do a Rimba Tube Snubby J show somewhere in LA and no one will show up except for my core group of friends because it's like it's such an international thing otherwise that people will devote themselves to my YouTube videos. I've gone to like France and Germany and had like fan meets there and people will show up. But it's like,
I want to talk about that.
It's
like,
so opposite in contrast.
I want to talk about the emotional experience of that because I've never, as a kid, I was like a really, not popular kid, but I got a lot of validation. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I got pretty obscure as I got older.
Like, really quick.
I got obscure by the age of 18. And, and then I remember around 22 when I was like in my final year of college.
Where'd you go again?
University of Michigan.
Okay.
So,
where you grew up?
Michigan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. West Bloomfield, Michigan. Yeah. Jewish suburb outside of Detroit. Okay. Reformed Jewish suburb. Yeah. So, what I had an experience, I'm curious from the other end of the spectrum, I'll tell you what it was. When I was a sophomore in college, I was cast in a university show, but it was like a very avant-garde university show. I played like a crack addict, and I was wigging out on stage, and people were like, "Wow, this guy really can go there! Like, this is wild! Like, this is stream of consciousness, like tripped out, insanity." And it was called Jonesin' by Seth Moore, who was a student it was very rare for a student playwright to get a university show. And that was my first big show there. And so for an eclectic point of view, this was a really like big deal for me. And it was like, oh, Josh can, he's got talent and grit, all this stuff. But while I was doing that, there was a a student show that was birthing called Harry Potter the Musical. And so all my classmates who weren't in Jonesin were in Harry Potter the Musical.
Of course.
And they blew up and they got millions of YouTube followers and just could do concerts in huge auditoriums for the next.
Is that the one that's on YouTube?
Star Kid. Yeah.
Is that with the guy from Glee?
Yeah. I used to go to college with him.
Okay.
Yeah, we played Jesus and Judas in a show.
That's wonderful.
Together, and then he just but it all started basically. I think his whole Glee thing started with him playing Harry Potter and Harry Potter the Musical. Right.
Those things kind of build upon each other.
Okay, so you have some context for this.
Yeah.
So while they were blowing up on this big mainstream kind of level, I was just doing this very artsy, like, some people are like, oh, Josh is like really brilliant, but he'll never get the big bucks, So I'm just wondering what your feeling is like when you first really started doing this Rimba Tube of like, does this feel good? Like to get these followers? Like, is it fulfilling?
It's so funny because I think it came out of a birth of a passion. I was really driven by the Blue Man Group to do this thing.
Yeah.
And so for that, it was satisfying. I was getting my kick of like, I'm basically being a Blue Man in high school. I did it for 3 years. And then I got to college and I performed it for my friends. And that's the first video that went like super viral.
Yeah.
And at that point it was like, whoa, now I've got this like international fan base. Like there's a level of excitement and promise with the future of that, but it's also so fleeting, you know?
Oh,
and
wow.
that's where it's like, you post a video, you get all these comments in one day, and then it like slows down. And, like something will go super viral. It'll go on Yahoo. It'll get on Reddit, whatever, and then it's like it goes away. That's the nature of our business too. Of like you have to constantly be hustling or promoting yourself or whatever. But it's like for me, I was like, as soon as I got out of college, where I had this beautiful theater community, music community of just like developing work. I was doing so much. That's where I met Adam and Jacob for Scherzo, and we started doing that stuff and like created 803 as our like senior thesis. We called it. Like we had something there, and as soon as I got out of college, and I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm just coasting along in LA, not really wanting to be an act. Like I was like, I need to be an actor. That's what I studied. I needed to be in film and TV, and I didn't know how to go about that. That's not what I wanted. And that's where I was like trying to find for myself where I can be this kind of hero that I created for myself as Snubby J, but also still satisfy the like human Kent that like needs attention and finds the community that he needs. And that's where, being in this kind of now absurdist underground community, I've tapped into what I'm like, this actually is what feels right for me. And being here, it's like, just talking with you, it's like, like this is where I want to be. But having the outreach, it's like, I want that connection to be able to give something to the world too.
Yeah, on a bigger scale. Yeah, I've gotten better about it. I was very, since I've been at Electric Lodge curating, you've been a part of a few of my events, and I push to make them quote unquote hip events.
Yeah.
I would have never done that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was too defensive, closed off to the world. I was angry, bitter. I was even bitter like when they did this Harry Potter the Musical thing. I'm like, oh, I have integrity. They've sold up. But really, they did a good job.
Yeah.
Like that's a certain definition for success. And oh my God, there's a lot here. There's a lot here.
And that's where I'm like, that's where I'm trying to find that balance. But and that's where I come from, this like very commercialism, like dance competition, and like all that kind of, YouTube, like you got to have this, awesome cover medley of things. Like that was my background. And so for me now, it's like, it is digging deeper to find the like rich humanity in me that I want to put out on stage, share in the world, or just really live by in my life.
Right.
And I think I've tapped into that. And that's where I'm like, I'm holding on to that, but also remembering. And I had a great professor at school that was like, do I just give up Rimba Tubes altogether? Do I like devote myself to this? And
what did your professor, did he say?
He actually encouraged, I did this crazy thing. I don't think many people know this. He encouraged me to go out into the middle of the woods with a group of friends, start a fire, strip down naked, throw paint on our faces, and start this like tribal dance, and then throw like sacrifice like objects of meaning into the fire to like release, you know, the struggles and things that we're trapped by, and then go parade around the town and just have this like marching band thing. So we basically did the whole first half of that. Like we didn't do the marching band part of it because it was just too cold and dark at that point. But we all came together. Not everyone got naked, but it was just like it's a very hippie school too. It's in the middle of the New Redwoods up north, you know, in Blue Lake, California. But it was this moment where I killed Snubby J. I had this old, like very optimistic, cheerful vibe of what Snubby J needed to be. And that was holding me back. It was the dream of being a blue man. It was the dream of being this perfect, representative for, my whatever. I don't know. But just to really let myself go. Like I burned a paddle. Like I put one of my PVC paddles into the fire and just let that
was it a wooden paddle or
it's like rubber and plastic and
but somehow
and it burned. It burned away. But it was this thing where like, it was just a year ago, like in April, of like, wow, like I need to do the sacrifice to let myself go, to really to dive deeper into the work of like the characters I was developing, the work that is potential within myself, but also to not feel like I'm trapped by this one thing.
Right.
Because as soon as I do that, then I feel like I'm lost of my creativity and my spirit and all these things. So now it's a thing where this teacher again was like, you don't have to let go of the Rimba tubes. Like that's still gonna be a thing. Like people will love you for that. That's how you get, seen. That's where you'll make money. Like street performing, like I'll go street perform in Santa Monica, and that like, can pay my bills. But it's also the thing where I'm, wanting to satisfy my artistic side now, that I find a way to keep that side of me that's like the commercialism and the, that thing, but find a way to make it what I want it to be and not feel like I have to fulfill what the audience is expecting of me, I guess.
Oh my God. I mean, this is such a universal thing for performers. First of all, I feel like I'm getting to know you better.
Yeah, I know.
Like I feel like this is like the first moment we're
actually
really
getting to hang out,
because we've like been booking stuff, since November, and we've always had a nice rapport, but it's like I feel like we're actually talking about like these things here, like, and part of the reason I book you is because, I mean, not just because you're talented, but also have a good fucking attitude.
Yeah,
but I am curious.
That's the one thing I keep with me.
Yeah, you have a great attitude, and you always seem like relatively happy. But do you get sad?
Dude, oh my God.
Because I know it's the people who get really happy that you have to watch out for. Right. I mean,
dark sides too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no, absolutely. And that's where it's like I'm very lucky though, and very fortunate, and I feel like I have such a happy view on life because I come from such a wonderful background, great parents, great sister, and the funding to be able to do all the art stuff that I do. Like I feel very safe, and that's
in general, like in
helps.
the universe, like, or in your own world.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, even when I'm at home, if I just can be with somebody, that's where I'm happy. It's usually the momentum of things too. I don't know if this is for you, where it's like, either if you're super busy and you're so focused, so on it, like I'm just like, I have to bounce from this to that to this, that I'm like super productive, super positive, because I'm like, I'm doing something with my life that's got meaning. Yeah. It's in part of many people. That's like the biggest takeaway I've learned in the past year is like, I need a community. Like I need people that I can give back to, give my focus to, and having that is what gives me joy. Yeah. But it's when I'm like not doing things. If I'm like, I have a whole week where I'm like, oh, I have to just be at home, like on my computer. And that's where I've slowed down with YouTube for that reason. Because I'm like, I don't want to be locked away in my room, like spending hours and days and weeks making a video. I'd rather be out with people. Right. So I mean, like, when you kind of fall into, it doesn't sound like you fall into holes, but when you do, like, what's that like for you? I mean, I like it. I like to. I actually do now. It's sometimes? The thing where I like to. I tap into. Satisfied. It's. I've learned. I think with the clown work I've been studying is like to tap into the joy of what's like the shit that's not working or something. I don't I'm like losing my train of thought as I speak. I get this I get word retrieval problems sometimes.
Yeah.
It's been speech therapy since a kid thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you would call it depression, but I remember when I used to. I'm more in a kind of manic lifestyle these days,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
I think both of us are.
I can see that for you.
Yeah, but when I wasn't a lot going on 3 years ago or so, or like 2.5 years ago, oh man, it was all depression. And there was something satisfying about, I mean, terribly painful, but satisfying about that low state. I don't know.
It's really good to challenge yourself. And that's where I've hit some of those low places from the school I was just at. Like, it challenges you, like in the moment, on the stage, interpersonally, but also, work wise, to reach those dark, deep places that I've hit. I think one of my lowest lows there. That
we're at Del Arte.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, was there another low other than? Well, I mean, killing Snubby J, that was something else. That was different.
That was like actually like a couple weeks right before this lowest low.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, you can just what you're comfortable talking about.
Generally, I felt like I didn't belong there. Like, I felt like I wasn't really, like I found what they're looking for, found what my friends were looking for and trying to achieve. And for me, I was like, I don't know if I'm like, I see what I want for that, like a brief moment there that I didn't know if it aligned. And that just made me so sad. Because I was like, here I was in this place that I was like finding as a home and like convincing myself like, all right, let me, get rid of like all the like preconceived notions I have of what I should be. Again, all these like, super smiley, cheerful, all like perfectionist, really type A personality to then being this type B, really, to find the all other side of myself that can just chill out, focus in on one thing, not bounce around so much, just really be grounded.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if in this moment I was like, I don't think I belong here. And it made me so sad because then I was like, am I an artist? Am I a musician? What do I do? Do I go back home? Do I give up on this school? Do I give up on like all these things that like I got to this place where I like was crying in a fetal position for over like a half hour.
Oh wow.
And it was just like I couldn't like bear with the thought of what else I could do. Like, I just couldn't care anymore. Like, all these things I cared about weren't going my way. And so then it was hilarious because then that's where I was like, I was so self-aware though. At the same time, I'm still so self-aware that I was like, I'm like so crazy, so insane, so depressed at this moment that I was like, I'm crazy. Like, I could pinpoint it in my brain.
Were you
I was
watching yourself
to a degree, right? Well, it was just it was funny though. It's like
crying's a funny thing because I always wish one person was there to see it.
Oh definitely had a few friends helping me out there. So.
It's beautiful.
We all help each other. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I know I loved. It's so wild that you were with. Was it part of the Fiasco crew?
Fiasco.
Oh my God, it was amazing to have you guys last month. And
oh my God,
and
I love those people.
Dr. Joel Shapiro loved you guys. And
it's so funny because those
nice.
Three, Aaron Kreitz, Moses Norton, Yuli Arkentaki.
I can't say your last name. Yeah.
Sorry, Yuli.
Yeah.
But it's the thing of we all graduated separate years from Del Arte.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I only knew Yuli, and she was in the third year when I was just doing my first year.
Oh,
and
I didn't know that.
Were in LA, and we're like, let's get together, let's make something. And we've been developing work ever since September. And it's just and that's where I'm so grateful for that community because we all have that same background, same training.
Beautiful lightness and innocence to everybody who does Fiasco.
Yeah.
Obviously there's other stuff going on, but there's something that everyone in that group is sharing with the world that they're like, hey, this is what I'm sharing with the world, and it's funny because all you guys showed up at my performance art show in February. It was like a dark, heavy duty performance art show, right?
The high voltage show there.
Yeah, the last one from last month. Yeah, right. And this one tomorrow night is like a mix of like light and dark.
Yeah.
But I knew for me, I needed to do one show that was just heavy duty, like artist machinery.
And that's where it's like my background now. I've such an appreciation for that. And that's where it's like, I'm trying to find that balance of like enjoying the darkness as much as the lightness. And that's where it's like, anytime I get depressed now, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm challenging myself. I'm growing because there's so many people who don't do that in the world. And it's so good to feel a spectrum of emotion because at least we're feeling. You know?
Yeah, right. And you saw that one act. I'm curious what you thought. Pete Epple, who came down from Ventura, he was whipping the yarn. Funny enough, the yarn. Yeah. He was supposed to be in the show.
Inspired by that.
He was supposed to be in the show that you guys did in November, and he got shingles. Can you believe that?
Right. You said because there was another guy who had yarn in his thing or lady or something.
Right.
The motif.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, there's another guy with yarn, but he didn't end up making it. So, yeah, you and I were talking about some stuff, and part of this podcast is me exposing things about myself, and like, just to, it's, you know what, I think it's also, it's what's fair is like saying to whoever comes on this show, it's like, what do you want to reveal and what do you want to conceal? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, hey, we don't need to talk about it all. But for me, we were briefly bringing this up, and I can't talk about people with this every day, but we were briefly talking about bisexuality, and it's a both very liberating and terribly misunderstood subject. Yeah. Or like, I know the new term is sexual fluidity. So we were talking about that. I know you have your own experience with it. I told you mine. I'm like okay with sharing it again on air. It's fine. You know, like, you know, I can't, you know, it's not like I'm going to be fired for being a bisexual, especially here. I mean, like, at least I can, you know, anyways.
It's the kind of thing where we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like,
it needs to be
all
talked
the things
about.
we do conceal. It's like, that's why I'm trying to find my way to be as open and honest as I can be, because that's where communication is just key for anything, any relationship, professional, or personal.
It's condescending. Actually, the funniest freaking thing is the first time I came to Electric Lodge in 2012. I showed up with this band, and they were all these really straight dudes. This like this heavy
hyper masculine,
hyper masculine, and they were in my band. I remember I was doing a workshop with Tim Miller over at Highways Performance Space, and I remember him talking about taking a big bite. He's like, you have to take. He's like, if we don't take a big bite, you should just go and do scene study at an acting class. Like, so you need to take a big bite.
What does that mean?
And well, what that ended up meaning for me when I left the workshop, and the workshop was great. When I left the workshop, I was above a futon store doing a band rehearsal with these three guys. It was an Ecuadorian guy, an Italian guy, and a Hawaiian guy. Yeah. And they didn't know I was bisexual, and I was still first like kind of dealing with this. All of a sudden, I'm riffing at the microphone. I'm the lead singer, and they're like, one of them's playing bass, one of them's playing drums, and one of them's playing guitar. And they did not know I was about to do this, but I'm like, I got to take a big risk here. And I'm like, just yelling the microphone. I'm like, you know, when you drive down Santa Monica Boulevard and there's this muscly guys coming out.
Are you from South Park?
Yeah, right. Well, that's how I sounded, right? And that's how I sang. That's how I did it. I was like,
I love it.
Right. I was like, you drive down Santa Monica Boulevard and there's muscly guys coming out at 24-hour fitness. Oh man, like, I might be bisexual. And then all of a sudden I start singing. They're like, have to change the way they're playing. And I'm like, just go with it.
Go with it.
and I go, no one respects a bisexual. and I ended up bringing it to the Electric Lodge for the first time I ever performed here.
Wow.
And I don't, some people don't remember, but now I'm reminding them if they decide to listen to this. So that was a liberating moment for me, because it doesn't always come up. Sometimes it's just easy to evade it, or is to lie by omission about it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm curious, because you said you had a pretty nice upbringing. Mm-hmm. My father is an incredible man, and I love him to death. And it was just so happened that the world we grew up in you're a little bit younger than me, but I was a child of the 90s. Yeah. And it just wasn't that talked about at this point. Mm-mm. It wasn't as, and so I remember being like careful about anything I said or did to seem like a little less gay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my thing is this, it's like, I'm in love with a lot of women, and I happen to find a very well-shaped male body very attractive, and that's just my thing. It's like a fetishized, my homosexual side or whatever is fetishized. Mm-hmm. And that's, that might be because of whatever dissociation I went through as a child.
That's what I'm struggling with. I'm I'm still figuring, like, I'm still coming out of the closet, really. Like, I only just announced it on Facebook. I did like a big, like,
oh yeah, was that the first
with the election? It was with the election results. I was like, there's nothing else I can do right now against this, like, evilness that's spreading in the world besides just, like, sharing love. And that's why I was just like, I literally said, I'm gay and I'm proud of it and love will win. Like, and that was like, and it blew up because everyone was like, oh, Ken, you're coming out. Or like some people were like, oh, is this a joke? Or it's like, oh, you were just supporting gay rights because you felt like it. Like, and it's the thing where I just decided to come out fully in that way. But I don't even think my it's funny. Some people just assume, like, some people think I am gay just because of my natural brightness anyways, like from the moment they meet me. But it's like, it's tough for me because I come from that, like, black or white kind of mentality growing up of just not on a racial way, but just like,
you're either this or that,
this or that, or like yes or no.
Pick a side.
Pick a side. Right. And I have such a wonderful family as well. Like, so supportive, so understanding. I was figuring out. I actually yeah. Oh my God. Like but I was oh God. It's such a big subject to tap into.
Totally go for it. I mean, as much as you want to. Yeah,
no, for sure.
As much as you're comfortable.
But it was something where I growing up, dancing, growing up, this kind of happy kid that looked like a girl. Like, some people were like, "Oh, are you a girl?"
Yeah, I
like,
looked like a girl too. I looked like a girl too. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I looked like a girl.
Like, I had to put up those fronts. Like, I had to be extra masculine to fulfill those roles.
Tell me about it.
Right, and so. I think I just, and then I had a circle of friends that were very bro-y that I felt like I needed to match that, and I didn't have many friends. Like, I was the only guy in my dance company, and so I was attracted to women. Like, I knew that, and like that's where I was focused.
Women are really attractive,
but it was like, but I think I just had been denying the side of me that was attracted to men, and it's something I can't like pinpoint. It's not like I still can't even
fucking do
I'm figuring it out.
I don't know.
Just 2 years ago, though. It was literally 2 years ago from last month that I was like, oh, I might be gay. And it was like, oh God, I might be gay. That like was an identity crisis for me. And I think that's
super brave to have that moment. I mean, for me, it just was, it almost, I've said it, the funniest thing for me coming out of the closet as at least a bisexual happened with, I had a girlfriend in college and then a girlfriend in New York, and they were both kind of bisexual too. So that was the easiest place to kind of talk about it, actually, was with the woman that I was with, that I was, sleeping with. Somehow it was okay and liberated. And but
that's who I talked to initially when I was figuring it out. I was like, funny. I'm like, I would love to just be just straight up gay. Yeah. I'd love to be straight up gay because it'd be so much easier.
I wish it were that simple.
But I'm like, I totally am like so attracted. I'm attracted to women, but I know I have this depth for men as well. And that's where I talked to my bisexual friends immediately because I was like, what do you do? Like, how does this work?
Yeah. Well, a lot of bisexuals are dissociated bisexuals. I mean, really, for me, it basically as simple as this. I love a lot of men emotionally. I love women emotionally and sexually. And so it's either with a man, I either love him emotionally and he's my friend, or I love him sexually and I don't know him. It's a like more, it's like I'm sexually attracted to a statue of a man.
Yeah.
I I mean, women get objectified all the time, but the gay side of my sexuality is totally objectified.
Right. And that's where it's like, I feel like I can't open myself up sexually to somebody until I'm emotionally like feel confident with them too. And so that's where I haven't been able to take that big of a risk yet because I'm just like figuring out what it is I'm attracted to and not just copying out, as well. Right. But it's so hard when I feel such a deep attraction for women that I'm like, I want to follow through on this and give this the promise. And it's so hard though to like what we're saying, like that kind of black and white yes or no. Like I want to be that guy that's like fully devoted. Like I'm such a loving person and such a loving heart that like I want to be that. Like I want to have a family, all these things, but it's like now I'm like opening myself up in the past 2 years to like what my life could be in a totally different way. That's where I'm like accessing this depth of myself that I'm like, these are feelings that are so easy to suppress. And I'm imagining so many people in the world do it too. But it's just at least considering it and like tapping into whatever it is that's conflicting you. It's
Right.
like you are just opening yourself up to so much more possibilities.
Right. It's just having an ongoing dialogue with yourself and with others.
Yes.
Keyword with others.
So
Because if
helpful.
it's just isolated dialogue,
Then
it's
you go
not a
crazy.
dialogue,
Yeah.
it's a monologue.
It's a monologue. Yeah.
It's a crazy monologue. Yeah, right. It's Hamlet. I mean, so wow, I just appreciate that we can talk about this. It helps me too. I mean, it totally that was a
There's
gay
a
high
high
five between us. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow, this is amazing. Yeah, I mean, because and just to kind of segue, but also related to this topic, I went to see Al Pacino at the Pasadena Playhouse. And it was wild. So
What show was that? I saw he was there.
God Looked Away.
Okay.
And so he plays Tennessee Williams. But I mean, how familiar are you with Tennessee Williams?
Not at all.
Not at all. But
That's why I'm like a horrible theater student.
Yeah,
I'm so
you're-
passionate about like the
Right.
physical theater stuff.
But you know,
not,
Streetcar Named Desire.
I know
and
that. I saw it in
yeah,
Russia.
right. Just his
it was a
kinda-
Russian version of the
Oh,
play.
wow,
It was
that would've been-
badass.
Oh
so
wow,
good.
a Russian Stanley Kowalski. That's
Oh, my God.
crazy. So I mean, what happened was Al Pacino was playing Tennessee Williams.
Yeah.
And I watched as I was like, holy shit, that's Al Pacino. It's Al Pacino for 3 hours live. I'd seen him once live before, but not acting. And he's playing Tennessee Williams. Okay. It's a story about an artist. It's a story about a dysfunctional artist. It's a story about a dysfunctional artist who has major addiction issues. It's a story about a dysfunctional artist who has major addiction issues who loves boy toys. So I'm watching Al Pacino play Tennessee Williams, and this beautiful boy toy comes on stage. So I'm watching this stage picture about everything. It's about art, sex, addiction, genius, destruction. The whole picture was there. And it's funny because, I mean, that's just kind of to tie in what we've just been talking about, which is beautiful, but also to kind of tie back into something, our previous discussion about kind of going back to tradition or to commercialism. I'm sitting in there and I'm like, shit, I need to get back into traditional theater. Funny enough that, I'm working on a script right now for the first time in years.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right. So, it's funny because our first conversation about commercialism versus like art.
Yeah.
And then our second conversation about bisexuality, but it's all about spectrums.
Yeah. It
How
really
do we
is.
live on right.
And that's where I've like made this my mantra of like trying to find balance.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like you do need to take those risks
amazing.
to push one way or the other.
Right,
but
right.
like otherwise, like you can't function without that, yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine. Like you need to keep night and day.
Yeah,
like
you know what it really comes down to more that what the biggest thing that the best thing about you and I's, I mean different situations, but what we're sharing together is like the feminine and the masculine. And it's funny because I took this performance, the first performance art class I took was with almost all women at Michigan. And it's the first time I learned about feminism. And I, walking in, didn't really know what it was. I just knew that there was a bunch of women there and that apparently the woman who taught the class, Holly Hughes, was a strong feminist and that she'll set me straight.
Right.
But she seemed really nice and it was all very exciting. She was super supportive and had
Good.
this loud cackle that I ended up copying. I remember we were going around. I know, right, yeah,
That's what I do
yeah.
one.
And now I do it, and it's like a great manipulative way to be a great leader.
It's so funny to
Yeah.
see you cackle in a show too, because sometimes everyone else will be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
And I'm
you're
cackling.
just laughing your ass off in the corner.
Oh, it's a weird way. It's a kind of manipulative way to hold space for what I think is best.
Yeah.
It's a way to support the artist.
Yeah.
And if the rest of the group's not, they know at least that there's the approval of the person who's running the event.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, to get, I love exposing myself on this podcast. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So there was an experience I had where I was with all these women in this circle and we all went around and had to tell our life story in one sentence.
Ooh.
And it came around to me, and you're always thinking about what you're going to say, but I like felt this bubbling up inside of me. And then all of a sudden it came to me and I'm like, take a little bit of masculine energy, take a little bit of feminine energy, throw them together, light them on a fire. And that's me. And then all of a sudden one of the fluorescent lights in this classroom went out.
Oh my God.
And I was like a badass. And everyone's like, wow. whoa, this guy's cool. And so I'm like, man, I am a badass. I've realized like everything. But like a week or two later, I end up saying like some stupid stuff. Like where I got cocky.
Yeah.
That's another subject I want to talk about is like mania.
Yeah.
Is like, and they set me straight for the rest. They cut my balls off for the rest of the semester.
Just castrated you right then and there.
Castrated me. And everything I did, like they just kind of, and this will lead us into our next subject, you know, because you're a high, I don't see you as a cocky person, but I see you as a high person, a happy, upbeat person. And, you know, talking again about the lowers of that. Like I remember this guest artist was there and she was blowing up this giant balloon as a part of her installation piece. And I remember I was like, I was trying to blow up this balloon for her. She's like, will you blow this up? And it was this huge balloon. I like was like, don't you have a pump or anything for this thing? This thing is humongous. And she's like, no pump. And her name's Pat Alesko, by the way. Great performance artist. So she's like, no pump. And I'm blowing this thing up. I'm like, and I'm like exhausted and only like a quarter of the way there. And all of a sudden I look over and I hear, and she's pumping up one of these balloons. And I go, hey, I thought you said you had no pump for the balloon. She goes, oh, I figured you actors are so full of hot air, you know, you wouldn't need a pump. And it was so beautiful too, to be like right sized like that. It's painful though too. I have a mix of like resentment and appreciation for when people give me tough love like that. I don't know if you have any experiences like that.
It's the right setting for me. Sometimes it's like I get very I'm very protective about coming off as egotistical. I'm really
God, it's scary.
As soon as I get that, I feel that's like one of the most like insulting things because I'm like, I really don't want to do like that. That really crushes me because especially with all the privilege I have, all the like all those things growing up that I don't want to come off as this arrogant bastard. You know, I want to be somebody that's humble and all these things that I will lower myself as low as I can to achieve that.
But it's tricky, you know. I was told right around the same time, like I think the same year of college that I was just referring to, I had a friend come up from Michigan State and figures, you know, he'd come and confront me from, you know, it's just a lesser school. No, I'm kidding. He sat with me and he's like, so rude that I said that. I hope he doesn't hear that. So he confronts me and he's like, you know, Josh, or I think I was visiting him and he's like, you know, you've been talking about yourself all night. He's like, you know, you're a narcissist. And I really didn't even know the term. He's like, you're a narcissist. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's all about you. And I'm like, oh. So for the last, that was like, you know, I was 20 years old, 21 years old at this point. For the last 8 years, I've been trying to find ways to, you know, like get away from that or to be it entirely. Either to like in some of my performance artwork, I will like embody the narcissist as a way.
You have to for your work. Yeah. And that's where it's like you want to tap into that and allow people to find the humor in that. And that's where it's like sometimes you have to find the safe space to push yourself to that place. Yeah. But yeah, like in your day-to-day life, you don't want to be that guy because then no one wants to be your friend. No one's going to, you know, that's just where it's like with all the recognition I get, all the opportunities I get, I'm like, I don't deserve all this attention in some cases that I don't want to be embellishing that with narcissism on the end because I know I have that. Like I know I have that ego in me that's like, oh, you know, that's gets you. It gets any artist. Yeah, see,
I
really.
think. I mean, I don't see your ego. I could see where you'd be nervous about your ego.
Yeah,
I could see where I could pick up on an anxiety about ego with you because you have so much and you know and you have so much to give. But I don't see it as a problem for me. You know, it's so funny. It's just this thing where I now have to be like, ooh, and I've trained myself a lot, and you see my current gig as a curator is all about facilitating other people's thing.
You have a deeper appreciation too for everything once you're on the other side. Oh, wow. Like stage managing for me, it's like, I'm so grateful to every tech person. And I do PA work. I just did PA work for the Music Center today. I'm like, you know, it's a completely different side that satisfies me because I'm like giving back in a weird way. So it's like, but it's that thing though, where you balance, man, you know. But like, I don't want to come, you know, you don't want to come off as cocky. You don't want to come off as, you need to have confidence though. Like that's where having the background we do, all the performance experience, all these things that you have the confidence to step forward, push the boundary, be innovative, and conquer the world. But like, you don't want to do that to the extent of like losing, you know, the backing.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a couple definitions,
please.
Yeah, what is your definition of confidence? Like, briefly.
Ooh, God, I'm okay.
You're horrible at definer
preference. Yeah, I preface it like I'm horrible with words and describing things. So I'm a very like I'll probably come up with a definition and then you will say something and I'll be like, oh, that's it. That's actually it. Like I'm very flexible with my opinion.
Help me out here.
Flexible with my opinion.
If you had to give a definition of confidence, just go for it. Yeah,
it's the ability to I want to do a cheesy one now. To wake up, put on your shoes, and just be the best you can be.
I like that. I actually like that. I'm not a big cheese ball person, but somehow that fits.
It feels a little quaint, but that's where I'm like,
put on. You know, the part about it that fit for me that really clicked was the putting on your shoes. It's like being comfortable, not just in your own skin, but in your own shoes. Like being grounded to the earth. And you know what? It's funny. And I've been talking about this in a couple podcasts. It's like I've been working on this safe space in therapy of like building this space where I'm like totally okay with myself and feel safe. And when I first built it, I was in the rainforest and the jungle and I could hear some birds and I could smell some charcoal. And then all of a sudden I could hear a tiger behind me and I'm like, wait, that's not safe. But then the next time I picked it up, I was like, oh no, the tiger's protecting me. And then the third time I picked it up, like, no, I am the tiger. Yeah. And then I'm like, isn't that like cocky to be like, I'm the tiger? And my therapist was like, no, that's good. That's you, and like that's
who you are
in your skin. You're not like needing to latch on to others.
Yeah.
I'm defining with you. Yeah.
No, and so sometimes it's in simply from just like the work perspective. It was like I had another professor at Del Arte who just said like the step one is showing up. Like if you can't do that, then you're just failing. Like you literally are failing. But at least showing up, you put in that
everything.
effort.
I mean, I sometimes think I'm hearing some wait, it's all good. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, we have an amazing sound engineer, by the way.
I've been peeking over.
He's been here all week listening to these weirdos talk about life and art, and we've been sharing in it together.
Have we already been talking for an hour and 45 minutes? Is that accurate?
Just 45 minutes.
Thank God. I'm like, I knew time would fly by. We're in this really
smarty
crazy room. I was describing this blue light, LED lights, and this like tiny thing.
We gave Kent Smarties, and that was like,
I'm tripping, man.
Yeah,
hour just flew by.
Yeah, and we're gonna wrap up in a minute, but yeah. So I got one other. I've asked a bunch of other people this. What's your definition of humor? Like you know, not funny, haha, but like humor on a real personal, deep level. Or what's your sense of humor?
God. I've laughed at so many. There's this great.
You were laughing at the Oscars thing, which I was too.
Yeah, laughing at that, and that's where I'm like, I'm starting to laugh at failure. That's where I'm like, because I come from a place of always wanting success. That's where I think I find the dark side of myself now, where I'll see a decapitated teddy bear head on the side of the road, and I'll start laughing because I'm like, that's so great for all the wrong reasons, you know. Yeah. But
like worst case scenario, whatever.
Yeah. Oh my God, humor wise, I find the littlest innocent things humorous. I think that's where I laugh. There's a great artist, Natalie Palamides.
Oh yeah.
Who I was laughing crazy hard at her the Lade show way back.
Yeah. When I think we went to the same one. Yeah.
In like September or whatever.
It's beautiful.
Like I was so into that. That's where I was like, I need to like do some more like clown work and absurdist work, because that's what I was finding joy in. But I think that's just where I'm also I really want to be like a protector of innocence in a way that like I love. I'm happiest when I'm like, you know, just at the beach, just looking at the sun, like, or like just with a friend, just talking away. Like that purity is so beautiful that like the humor within that is, I think,
Yeah.
beautiful as well.
Yeah, I have another definition for you. What is, and you can use purity beautiful, but
Sure.
I really want you to just tell me what is innocence. I think you have more of it than I do. So you could tell me.
There's this great quote from, God, I'm not even gonna remember now. We used it for a performance art piece in high school. I had this cool class that pushed me with like what I wanted to like. It wasn't really performance art. It was more just physical theater kind of stuff.
That's great. Yeah, no,
I loved it. Oh my God. This quote of, all things truly wicked start from innocence.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's like some great famous poet. It starts with an E, I think, too. His name, it's not Ernest Hemingway, maybe, but it's that thing of we came out in these like white spacesuits and then like had different buckets of paint and threw them at each other and wiped it all over ourselves. Where there's this conglomeration of color by the end, and that was our final line that we said together. But it's a thing of like the innocence. It's sad because I don't want to live in a state of ignorance.
Mm.
And I feel like there's a distinction between ignorance and innocence. But having the innocence of a child with just the bright eyes and openness and unfearing like quality to step forward into the world, I feel like allows you to take that step forward, because then you're not you don't have the trepidation of fear. You don't have anxiety. You don't have resentments. You don't have past pressures pushing you, but to really just be this kind of open baby with what is intriguing you, what's fascinating you, what's making you laugh. Like, I find so much more joy when I'm in this open, playful state. And that's where I love playing the Rimba tubes, because it's so simple. I love doing clown work now because I put myself in I'm unafraid to be the person I am in my body. I'm also just fully present with you.
I mean, I am you're aware that your level of innocence is like unusual, right? But I mean, the people you work with too have it as well. Yeah. But you lead the way in it.
For sure. Absolutely do.
Right. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday and she's like, or a couple days ago, she's like, my sincerity level is unusual. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I know her very well.
Yeah.
And but with you, it's innocence.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm glad we're like diving into it. And like, I guess briefly want to say, what do you have to say to the world right now? I don't like to ask questions like that. You want to say to the world, I love you. Yeah, that's great. That's just so along the lines of,
I really just want to give love to the world. And it's a very innocent thing, but that's where it's like, we could keep talking forever.
I know.
It's like, but seeing like the Syrian refugees, the like people being slaughtered and murdered wherever in the world, it's like there is that evil wickedness, but the one thing I know I can give to the world is this pure, innocent state of love that I want to give. And I know I have my tendencies to fall back and fall into fear as well, but just to give as much love as I can is all I'm striving for. And in return, it's like to open people's minds up to like what the world could be.
Yeah. Well, what I like is, and I know I'm sure you struggle with a lot of things and we've talked about certain stuff. It's like, but you don't seem to get stuck for very long. You're like going.
Yeah.
Like,
and if I get stuck, that's where
you're on a mission.
It's shitty. I don't even know what the mission is. I'm trying to just be in this present moment, though. That's
great.
All
that's why because when I was, you're 25?
24.
24. When I was 24, I was so fucked up.
Yeah. I can only imagine, Josh.
Oh, it's horrible. Man. I'm 28 now.
Dude.
Yeah, I really, the day I turned 24.
Were you in New York at that time?
I was in Michigan. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I was in Michigan. I was 24. And I decided to go back there for a month, to raise money for something, which didn't work out, even though we tried. And I fell in love for like 15 days with this beautiful 20-year-old dancer, and she had this amazing body. And I was like,
dancers are the best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We could.
I dated a wonderful dancer for 3.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, right. I might marry a dancer. That's probably why I won't ultimately marry a man. Is I'll probably marry a dancer. But anyways,
settle down.
But yeah, right. So, and then what happened was like, I thought like, oh, I should stay in Michigan for this woman because she has blue eyes and a great body. And then, and then I went. It triggered somehow the letdown of that. She's like, actually, I'm dating a grad student as well, and the letdown of that was so bad that I was depressed. Yeah.
Oh
no,
going dark.
No. Yeah, it's still going. It's okay.
Oh yeah, the static sound.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah, we're finishing up here anyway. But anyways, yeah, that was my 24th year, and I got stuck in Michigan on an air mattress, with no car.
Oh man!
In my old college town, and all these college students that knew me. I was the older one.
Yeah.
It was like if you were a freshman and I was a senior.
Yeah.
And you're like a sophomore or a junior.
You stuck
now,
around.
And you're like, what the hell was?
It's always
why
so
is
weird.
Josh still here?
Still
why is he
here?
working at the movie theater? And then luckily I got out in a couple months. But that was when I was 24. So you're doing pretty fucking good.
Thanks, man.
You're doing amazing.
Doing my best.
Doing a lot of great things. So
yeah.
Well,
that's all we can do is just figure it out and do what feels right. And that's where I'm very instinctual, like on that. Like sometimes I can't label what I'm trying. Like I'm not good with my words. That's where I'm like come from the dance, physical theater background. But like if I feel in my gut something's not right, or if I feel something in my gut's like worth exploring, you just gotta follow that impulse.
Yeah, man. Well, this has been a really good conversation. How do you feel?
Dude, it's great. I want to keep talking for another hour.
We'll just have you back next week. Yeah, you got to teach us, man, how to get good at YouTube because we want this to succeed.
It's really being specific. You just got to find your thing, find that niche audience, tap into that, and then you become known for that. Someone like Amanda Palmer, like, is well known within the like kind of underground theater or not theater music scene because she just kind of did her thing, but like tapped into asking for, it's that thing where I have the tubes. People know me as the tube guy, not the pipe guy. There's a guy now called the pipe guy from Australia.
Guy. Wow.
But he, does his own thing and I do my own thing. And that's where I did it for years though. I did years before I got it, major attention.
You want to talk briefly about what you're going to do on
Saturday?
We only have 1 minute left.
1 minute. All right. Doing the Ribitubes. That's what's funny. I was invited to do this event and I was like, okay, maybe we do something with Fiasco. We could do some kind of fun, immersive thing. And I was like, no, I've got two friends. We want to do this crazy 30-minute, never-ending guitar solo rock piece. That's complete mind trip for the audience. That's an experience, I was like, and then I talked to Lisa and she's like, yeah, we want this to be kind of like a fun adult for camp for adults. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got that. Let's do the Ribitubes.
That's why I called you.
Yeah, it's just light, happy, good, fun stuff. And so I'm really I'm so excited because again, I'm trying to strip away this the sense of what it was and what I've always wanted to I love collaborating with people, and that's where it's I find that joy. It's just being with you, talking with you, working with my theater company members, Adam and Jacob. They're joining me for the first time to do music together, and we've always talked about wanting to do a music show together, do music, and we're finally doing it this Saturday. We're going to be doing, I think we're doing this body percussion piece, and then we're going to do the Rimba tubes. I'm going to get everyone rocking out to some music on that, and then they're going to be playing it for me while I get the audience involved in something. So I'm so excited because I have no idea what it's still going to be, but it's going to be freaking awesome.
I'm so glad you're around, man.
Dude, it's good.
You provide a comfort to the world in your innocence, but also now that we know each other better, that I feel like we're actually
we can acknowledge
friends
what it is
before in a way, but now we're actually this sealed our friendship on a personal level.
The gay high five again.
There. Yeah, I wish you could have seen it. Well, thank you so much for listening. This has been a really in-depth interview, and I think one of the most personal and also professional too, because Kent's very professional. Check out his Rimba Tube site or YouTube.
Snubby J. He still lives on Instagram and YouTube.
All right. Well, we're gonna
wrap it up.
Take the underground and attach it to Snubby J.
We'll give it a shout out. We'll do a plug. Something.
That's great. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you,
awesome.
Josh.
Amazing. This has been Electric Lodge Presents Notes from the Underground with Josh Berkowitz. We hope you enjoyed and tune in next time. Recorded live from Soul Journey Studios in Venice Beach, California.